All right, folks, welcome to the evening edition with Nino here. And I got to say, I got a great guest. I got Ian Wendt that was on my, we've had a lot of discussions on Instagram. We've been trying to bring him on for the YouTube channel. He's really, really radioactive. So I explained the instructions in the dressing room, Alex and I did, and said, look, man, we can't say certain words or things on fluff, but we can give a broad stroke and talk about what you want to talk about, what's important. And let me tell you, folks, he's charged. I wouldn't say triggered, but he sees through the bullshit like I do. And I've always said when this pendulum goes really far left, it's going to go really far right. And that's what I'm watching here. But there's certain things that have come out, and I know all of you can agree with me. There are certain things like the JFK files, the Epstein list has not come out. I don't know what's going on here. But this is not what I was promised, and this is not what is expected. So now, folks, don't get your panties in a bunch just yet. All I'm going to say is we're asking questions on this channel. That's what I do. That's my job. I don't play ball with just anybody, folks. I try to bring all and everybody to the table and try to put the pieces of the puzzle together for everybody, my whole audience. We all deserve that. And some things are just not adding up. And so, Alex, if you want to jump in on here as well, I'm going to bring Alex on as well. It's not adding up to me. I know to you it's not either. And it certainly isn't to Ian. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have an adult discussion on why we think there could be something more at play here. I mean, there's big distractions. You had the Ian says the JFK files, the Epstein list, the whole thing. Big distractions for what? And then Israel is obviously doing what it needs to do with Gaza, and we're going to talk about that. And are they pulling the strings of Trump? Just questions, because nothing as of this far really adds up to me. Does it to you, Alex?
No, I mean it's just more of nothing. The JFK files, isn't there supposed to be a bombshell?
I had the bombshell on Nino's Corner.tv. I had the bombshell right there. I have the audio on Nino's Corner.tv with Shane Stevens, where they're admitting who did it, and it's right there. I mean, it's that simple to drop. Why isn't something that simple being dropped? Why is it 80,000 pages of just clutter and nonsense? Why can't we just get names and people to say, okay, we got it now, thank you? But, for me, I kind of look at this and go, what's really happening here, man? What's really going down here? And all I'm doing is asking questions for my audience. And folks, before I get started, let's get some health with Nino, baby. I got to do this every time. The reason behind wrinkles isn't always in our control. It's more than about reducing stress or eating a healthy diet. As we age, our body's natural collagen production declines, which leads to visible signs of aging, like wrinkles and sagging skin. In fact, studies show that after the age of 20, collagen production decreases by about 1% a year. Same with my eyesight, obviously. That's why I use this amazing product, and I'm obsessed with the results. It is a premium supplement designed to replenish your body's collagen levels and combat the effects of aging. This unique formula uses the top 5 clinically important types of collagen for skin health to help reduce visible signs of aging, reduce wrinkles, promote a youthful glow, promote healthy skin elasticity, and promote skin hydration. Look your best with Ageless Multi-Collagen and place your order now while it's 51% off, folks. And if you order now, you will also receive a VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, and a 60-day satisfaction guarantee with free shipping. Get over there now, folks. Get started. Get started on collagen, folks. All right, so Alex, you there? How's the chat doing? How's everyone doing in the chat?
Yeah, how y'all doing in the chat?
Whoo! Get those super chats in. You're going to want to ask Ian a lot of questions because Ian's charged. I had him on the phone earlier. I was like, Ian, listen, man. I know you want to get all this off your chest. I understand it. But you got to, we got to just, we can't say that on FluffTube. Keep it broad stroked. You know the rules. No punches below the belt. Is Ian there, or is he still in the baño?
Yep, he's here. Let's bring him on.
What's up, Ian, my man?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
All right, man. So go ahead, Alex.
Dude, I think you're scaring people. They're like, who is this guy? What's he going to say?
That's what I do. That's what I do.
No, honestly, I'm glad we were able to make this happen. And like, look, here's the thing you need to know about me before I go into anything. Okay. I love Trump. I voted for Trump twice. I still think that he's the best bet for the country. There's no question about that. I'm not saying that just to simp to people. Like, that's the reality. I do believe that out of every choice we have and the people that actually care about the country, he's the man. I mean, that's the reality. However, what I want everybody to understand is I am not a loyalist. I am a patriot. I always question my leadership. I always question those in power. I don't care who it is. No one is immune to the questions. No one is immune to the criticism, and they shouldn't be, because that's not patriotism. That's loyalty. That's loyalism, right? And, you know, it's funny because I started posting about this stuff that you're saying, David. Like, I started talking about how I was unhappy with the things that I was getting because it's not what I voted for. And it's so funny because I have all these people come at me so hard. Oh, dude, it's only been 6 weeks. It's only this. And it's like, okay, it doesn't take longer than 6 weeks to release files and just not go after people for free speech, right? Those are my two biggest things. It was like, I want free speech in the country because I've been censored for freaking 5 years. I want free speech. So I want an immediate crackdown on that. That was the one thing, that was one of the biggest things that I wanted and I wanted to see from this administration, right? That doesn't take a long time. That's just, you simply stop censoring people, right? But then you see all this new stuff about the administration censoring certain terms and certain topics and certain things. And it's like, no, man, that's not it. Free speech is free speech. Hate
so they're letting other things go while censoring this group right here that says anything about
it's just
this group.
Yeah, it's just like the same stuff from a different side, right?
Hold on. The fact that we have to say it like this on FluffTube, it's just shifted gears. It's just went from this over to this. So now I have to be careful. I can kind of say what I want about them now, but wait. You can't say anything about these people now. And that's where I'm at now. And that's why I'm having to censor this.
And that's not free speech, okay? Even if you don't agree with what's being said, if there's no harm being done, no property being hurt or stolen or anybody, like, it doesn't matter. Hate speech is free speech. That's what I always say, right? And so that's the first thing. And then the second thing is the files, right? The Epstein files, the JFK, we're going to release it the first day I'm in office, Cash and all these guys. And it's like, okay, where are they, right? And
I can't disagree with you on this.
Yeah, and then we get the JFK files, and I did go through the JFK files for about 3.5 hours last night. It's a ton, but I wasn't able to get through a ton of it. But like, I'll tell you the gist, okay? I will say that them releasing a completely unredacted JFK file is a huge step in the right direction, right? I criticize, but I also commend the things that are good. And this is one of those things where it's like, there was no smoking gun. Absolutely none. Like, that's just a reality. Most of the stuff in those files, we already knew. Those of us that have actually been paying attention have done the research.
All right, but be broad here too on this, because this is also FluffTube goes after.
But what it basically did was it made it easier for us to connect the dots that we haven't really been able to fully and completely connect. Now we can literally trace back everything and say, oh, that's how they did this in this country, which led to this in this country, which led to this in this country, which led to this organization and this NGO. And all of these different things happened in order to make that event go off. And now we can actually trace it back and also say, this is why a lot of this stuff today is happening, right?
Right.
So it did create a lot of clarity. But what it didn't do is really give us any of the information that a lot of us know is real. I just think it hasn't been documented. I think it was purposely not documented. And the super interesting thing about it too, and we'll get more into this, and I'll kind of skirt around it because I don't want to get the page messed up. But what's the most interesting piece of the whole thing is that there's a part where it basically says that the CIA is okay with declassifying everything minus what's in brackets. And if you look at what's in brackets, it's a certain country and a certain intelligence group. And look,
in the Middle East.
Yeah. And it's like, look, we all know that that intelligence group, along with our intelligence group, was involved in this. It's very, very clear if you actually pay attention and you've done the research. And so for them to do that, it's like, okay, so basically they were all involved, but they didn't keep record of it on purpose. And that's even worse because that's not transparency, right? And, you know, man, I'm not here to just straight up be the black pillar or whatever, but it's like, dude.
I mean, it's trust me, it's very easy to take the black pill and just go down that road and just say screw it to everything. But I'm with you on this. You know, I think the Epstein list, when that came out the way it did, and they came out holding up the booklet that we have and I saw that, and then nothing came out. I'm like,
white binders.
Yeah, the binders, and then nothing. I thought, oh boy, who's playing ball here now? What's going on? Because the whole premise that he ran on was one of the biggest thing people were waiting for was the Epstein list. That's what was making everyone so damn nervous. But then they said it was a national security threat. Now I talked to Roseanne Barr. She said the reason it's a national security threat is because a lot of people on Wall Street are in that, and it'll cause chaos within the economy and blah, 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 blah. And I can see that. Maybe we're not ready to pull the ripcord yet and just let it all just, crumble down yet. But to me, it's still an excuse. We were promised this. It has not come out. That bothers me. And then the JFK files is like analysis paralysis. You're not the first person that told me you're still sifting through it for 3 hours. There's other people that have told me they're going through for 4, 5, 6 hours. So I'm sitting here thinking, I had one guy on my show, Shane Stevens. He came on my show, and he's the grandson of Billy Sol Estes, who was a big donor to one of the presidents, who let it all. He played the audio right there on my program and admitted who did it. And folks, that's on Nino'sCorner.tv. You can listen to the audio right then and there. It's unbelievable to listen to. He's also gone on Alex Jones, and he's gone on Roseanne, so you can find it there too. But I'm just saying, already 2 huge duds, man. And then today, a CIA gunman, which to me was a big distraction, and I know you agree with me on this, but a distraction from what, Ian? And I want you to get into this. What's going on right now that these are all big distractions of?
All right. So to get into this, the first thing I need to say, and it's terrible that it's so stupid that I even need to say this, but I do. And the reality is to criticize a government and to criticize a group of people does not mean that you're automatically labeled an anti-whatever that is, okay? So just like if I criticize Trump and I criticize the American government, it doesn't make me anti-American, right? Criticizing Israel and criticizing the Israeli government does not make me an anti-Semite. That's a lie that's been told in order to basically cover up a lot that's been going on. And this is what I said to David before this, and this is what I'll say to you guys. I am not with the group that says it's the blank. That's lazy and ignorant, and it's insane to label an entire people as something when it's not, when it's a very small group of that people or the leadership of that people. That's what I believe, right? I don't subscribe to any extremism. I don't subscribe to any hate or any kind of any of that, any terrorism, any of that. Like, it's all out of the question, right? However, if we are not able to question, when I'm not able to literally say a certain word or question anything around that topic, it's an immediate red flag. And the reality is, and I won't go into this on this. I'm gonna have to go into this on your private page after this, bro, because it's just there's too much. But in order to understand what's going on right now, you have to understand the history of what's going on in the Middle East. You have to understand where it began. You have to understand what happened, how World War I affected it, how the different countries affected it. And this is a long, long history of violence and just the worst of the worst. And there's no innocent. There's no good and there's no bad. The only innocent and the only good people in this conflict are the innocent and good civilians on both sides that are getting caught in the crossfire.
I agree.
And what just happened? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I was going to ask you, there's different camps when it comes to like what happened in World War II. Okay. Do you believe with what we've learned in our indoctrination camp schools, what they've taught us in school really happened in World War II?
Absolutely not. Not even nothing that we learn in school in our history books is what the reality is.
Correct.
Now, I'm also not of the type of person that's going to say that, like, dude, there's literally people out there that just will say that the dude with the mustache was a good person. Like, at the end of the day, that's also just ignorant. Like, there's nuance to everything, right? Do I think we were told the full story about World War II and about what happened there? Absolutely not. Do I think a lot of that was fabricated and made out to be something that it wasn't? Absolutely. But that being said, that event still took place and the evil still existed on both sides. The difference is what we weren't told and what we haven't been taught in the history books is about the good guys, right? Guys, Churchill was not a good guy. Okay.
Right.
Winston Churchill
he was a
not
globalist.
good guy. Yeah. And America was not the good guys in World War II. There were, once again, there were no good guys. There was a lot of competing interests. There was a lot of evil influence. And there was a lot of things that revolved around money and the banks. And every war is a banker's war. And World War II is no different. And so a lot of what happened in World War II actually happened because of what happened prior to that with World War I and everything else. So here's what I'll say here, and then we'll go more into it on your private channel, right? But this is what you need to understand with what's happening in the Middle East. On Tuesday, okay, so first of all, there was a ceasefire, okay? There was a ceasefire between Israel and Palestine, and that ceasefire was agreed on both sides, but there were different things that both sides didn't agree on. Now, what we've been told in the West is that there's only one side that didn't agree to everything, which is the hostages, right? But the fact is, it was both sides that didn't agree on certain things. There were multiple things that both sides did not agree on, and because of that, it wasn't a solid agreement, okay? And what happened is, like most times with this situation, I'm trying to think of how to say this. The idea of like the Goliath and little David, right? We all know who has been little David as far as the history books go and as far as what we've been told in the West, okay? Little David once again said, oh, we have to defend ourselves because this is what's happening. And on Tuesday, little David literally carpet bombed once again an entire nation during one of their most important religious holidays when there was no food and no supplies able to go in or out of this place.
Right.
Okay. They killed 400 plus individuals, 174, which were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And by any other situation would call that a war crime. They would call that genocide. And
this happened right on time too, March. And I've been saying this forever. March, get ready for March, the God of War. These people follow this stuff. And
it happened, right? And I literally said this the day before. I literally said the day before that the reason why they're releasing the JFK files, and I didn't know, I honestly didn't know the false flag with the CIA headquarters was going to happen, which, by the way, that was a false flag. If anybody didn't pick that up, there was nothing to it. It just happened to push the news. The release of the JFK files that day, which was Wednesday, okay, which is today, right? No, it was yesterday. Sorry, it's Tuesday. And then I'm losing my mind. And then today was the CIA headquarters false flag. That all happened on purpose, guys. The whole purpose of it was to bury everything that's currently happening in the news. And so what you have now is a very, very smart and coordinated plan to basically get, because when the JFK files were released, the people who released them and authorized that release knew what kind of people would be digging into those files and what those people would be trying to.
Let's get into that on the back channel because I know where you're going with this.
Okay.
Let's because there's a lot here to unpack, and I agree with most of what you're talking about. Believe me.
Basically, what's happening though is we are being distracted and forced to focus on one thing when we should be focused on the other, and that has happened multiple times throughout history. It's not something new.
It's also Purim right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the fact is, once again, there's no good guys or bad guys. I want people to understand that because it's so important. Every time I talk about this, people say I'm sympathizing for one side or whatever. And it's like, no, dude, I'm sympathizing for humanity. And if you don't understand the history of this conflict, then you can't possibly come to a conclusion of who's good and who's bad. Because there's so much bad, so much evil, and so much violence throughout the history of this conflict. But ultimately, it always seems to come back to one person is right, one person is wrong, and the person that's right is always the one that has the most backing, the most support, and the most cover. And that to me is a massive red flag.
100%. And I also think there's a deal, you know, this is just theory. Okay, it's just a theory, but what I'm seeing here, and I know I sent you some links, Alex, but I think it was, what is it, Adam, who's the yeah, he's saying, you know, Trump has a right, you know, the pardons, you know, basically they're void. And I'm wondering to myself, I wonder if there's some kind of deal here where it's like, look, help me get my political enemies in jail, and I'll go ahead and back your country. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man.
Does that sound like maybe something that could be happening here now? It's just a theory. It's just
I think
I'm saying, like, maybe he's saying, let me, you know, you help me, I help you. I want to put these people in prison, and I'll back you with what you need. Do you think there's some kind of handshake deal being made here? Is that too out of the question?
The hard thing with that is, I mean, that's not hearsay, that's not conspiracy. Like when we got the list, even with those stupid white Biden, one of the people on the list along, it's hard because I will say the auto pen situation, which is why supposedly these pardons are null and void, right? Because it was done with auto pen, and there's no way of proving that Biden actually signed the pardons. The only one that they can prove without a shadow of a doubt that he signed is Hunter's. The rest of them were signed with an auto pen, and there were two different types of signature. And so what Trump is basically saying is because it was done with an auto pen, there's no way to guarantee that it's Biden that actually did it, and therefore it's null and void. I will say that on those grounds, it actually seems like it makes sense. So there's two sides that I can see. The side that Trump is right, they are null and void, and he has every right to go after these people now. And quite frankly, that's the one that I hope for, because I want to see in prison. I want to see these people freaking put in brazen bowl in the town square for pay-per-view, right? But the reality is there's a lot of nuance to it. And that's the thing about this situation is, like, it's hard to tell, man. It's hard to know because it really does seem like someone else is pulling the strings of this administration in a lot of ways. And a lot of
everybody answers to somebody, man. That's just the way it is. And you can say, I was I'm still under the belief there is a certain firewall behind Trump, but who is it? Because when you really think about this, you would have to beat the odds in the trillions to get to where he's at. The way he did it, just to be a real estate mogul in New York, you have to play with some heavy hitters out there that are really, really nasty people. You don't just become a heavy hitter in New York just because you're a good guy. You got to be a nasty dude to make it big in New York, especially with the mafias out there, and make it to the level he did. You got to know what you're doing, man. You got to play ball with certain people. So all I'm asking is, do I believe? Am I a Trump supporter? 100% I am. But who's the people behind him? Because we've always been told it's that letter in the alphabet, or it's the, is it the people in the Middle East? Is it all the above? All I'm doing is asking questions for my audience. That's it.
Look, there's a couple different theories. I'll tell you the first, which is the pro-Trump theory is just like you said, right? Trump had to play the game to be as rich and as powerful as he is. But at the same time, you have to imagine, like, dude, the people that are 100% involved with Epstein Island, like you look at like the freaking, what's the dude that died that was like only computer voice? What's his name again?
Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins. Someone like Hawkins, like, dude, he literally doesn't have options. So it's like, he gets the option, he gets the freaking ticket to this island, and he's like, okay, like easy, right? But and then some of these other like, doctors and some of the other people, the banking corporate, the banking executives, and all the other people that are just like kind of high level but low level at the same time, right? those people, and they're going to do those kind of things. But if you look at like a Trump, you have to imagine that he's been playing the game for so long that he wouldn't be stupid enough to put himself in a situation where he's on an island randomly that's obviously a blackmail operation. Like, you have to imagine that he's smarter than that. And at the same time, if he really wanted to do the things that are on that island, bro, he could just freaking pay for it and do it at his penthouse where nobody knows.
100%. I agree with you 100%. And I think, when someone like you got to think of this too. Trump is a playboy. He's been a real estate playboy for a long time, big money, big ego, been able to do whatever he's wanted to do. And then he runs for president and you can't dig anything up on him. Yeah. I think he knew he was going to run for president for a very, very long time. Or before he ran for president, somebody behind him said, you know what, don't worry. This is all going bye-bye. And now people might say, well, hold on. What are you talking about? What about Stormy Daniels? What about this? What about that? I'm sure there's a lot more dirt there than we know that has been cleaned. I'm just saying that's what I guess.
I mean, dude, that's my point. It's naive to believe that Trump is immune from any of this stuff, right? But I think that there is an argument in the fact that you have to imagine that he's smart enough to not put himself in such a compromising position. That's the first side, though. But the anti-Trump argument is actually one that goes a little deeper. And in order to understand this one, you have to put yourself in the position of think back to when because I don't know about you guys, but like it felt truly in this country during the election, it felt like everything just not 2020, but 2024. It felt like everything almost flip-flopped overnight. I don't know about you guys, but it literally felt like it went from Kamala and Tim, boom, to Trump. And it was like the media was all of a sudden not as biased. The censorship stopped going. Zuckerberg came out as being pro-freedom and pro-free speech. And like the podcast started firing off. And all of this stuff started happening where it was seemingly overnight, where it went from like crazy path to communism.
What did you say? He cut a deal. You're saying maybe he cut a deal.
Well, here's the thing, dude. It's interesting because if you actually think back to when it happened, it was right after Biden refused to meet with Bibi. He refused to meet with Bibi. That's right. And guess who met with him?
Trump.
Trump took the meeting.
Right.
And it was very, very, and it was vocal about it. And Bibi straight up said, he's my greatest ally, blah, 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 blah. And then literally, dude, it was like almost overnight.
Well, Kamala also, Tim Walz is more pro-Palestine, isn't he?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So she had her choice with Josh Shapiro, and she stepped away from him and went with Walz. And then Trump met with Bibi. So then that would say, okay, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type of thing. So that's who he's paying allegiance to. Now, folks, we're just saying this is theory.
Yep.
I got to be very careful here.
And like I said, I gave you two theories. I am the type of person that looks at every angle. I like to look at both sides and then come to a conclusion based on what makes most logical sense. And by the way, most of the time that logical answer comes because who stands to gain what? It always comes down to that. So you have to look at this situation as who stands to gain what, right? And so like, look at the first one, assuming that Trump's not involved with the Epstein stuff, assuming that he is clean, assuming that he is just kind of being influenced maybe by people around him again, right? Who stands to gain from that? What's the angle there?
I think what we're going to see here, and if you just want my opinion, I think the deal with Elon as well, because we know Elon is not who he says to be. I'm sorry, but he's the poster boy for what it is. But there's a lot of rumors out there that's allegedly he was DARPA funded, and then we pulled him, he switched over to our side, whatever. There's a lot of theories out there on Elon, but Elon's playing ball with us. Elon, I think, is going to be the poster boy for. He's already bringing stranded NASA's astronauts in space back here to Earth, and there's going to be some other things he probably saves humanity from, and he stands to gain a lot in this also. Who controls Elon? So it's like a tag team thing here, and is it really light to dark? I mean, I'm not trying to be negative or against Trump in any way, but I'm trying to look at all sides here, like I should, like you should, like Alex should. We all should.
And
it's just that these JFK drops and the no Epstein listing raise some big flags for me.
Well, and again, I think this is where, and this is going to go, this is what we have to talk about in your private channel. But like, in reality, what it comes down to is this, man. It's you either believe that, it's so hard, man, because the whole idea of black pill, right? The whole idea that this is really all controlled by banks, and that each and every administration is selected, not elected. You know, people like to say that, right? And it's like, dude, just like there's an argument for anything else, there's definitely an argument for that, especially as you look at all the facts and as you look at all the money behind it and as you look at all the agencies, especially now, to be honest, as you look at what happened with JFK. Like, there's definitely a coordinated effort by outside influence to influence how our country is run. And the question is who, why, and what is the ultimate objective? And when I look at it from that standpoint, a lot of that stuff starts to make sense.
Actually, Alex, why don't you pull up that X post I sent you with the Gaza, the Gaza post I sent you.
Yeah.
Where he says that Egypt's going to come in now and take control over Gaza, and the refugees are going to be we'll read it right here. Okay. While everybody was distracted by the Houthi strike, President Trump approved Egypt's plan for Gaza reconstruction. The plan stipulates that no Gazans will be forcibly expelled, even temporarily, and that Gaza will be governed by a Palestinian committee backed by Arab nations. So what do you think of this, Ian? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So, I was, do you guys remember when he posted the Gaza AI video with Elon and everything? It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if you remember when he did that, but he posted that. It was posted on his page, on the White House page. It was definitely not the move. And it was while all the craziness was happening over there. Right. And I was outspoken about it because I said, look, this isn't it. Like, this isn't how you win the progressive and patriotic centered base that has arisen because of the radical left extremism. Right. And there's two things, right? I think that the reality is that he was just being who he is. He was just being Trump. And in reality, he was just firing up his base and trolling the Middle East countries and everything. And ultimately, there's an argument that he was basically trying to get them to negotiate a deal between each other, right? But even so, let's say that is the plan. Let's say he was, doing the art of the deal. Even if that's the case, once again, I go back to who stands to gain from something like this? By Gaza being taken over and Palestinians being forced into Gaza and it being owned by these surrounding countries, who stands to gain from that? Israel, right? No one else. I mean, the only
aren't they getting ready to build another canal through Gaza as well? Isn't that that's the rumor? Yes,
and the only other argument I guess you could have with that too is, and I've heard this one as well. I've heard that maybe it's the way for Trump to make sure that Bibi can't completely take Gaza, because if it's owned by Middle Eastern countries, but that's the thing. All it does is flare up the conflict more. And in my opinion, and what it's really looking like is it's giving them the ability to continue their military conquest through the Middle East,
right?
Which seems to be backed by the United States, the UN. And it's just like, dude, this has been happening. Again, this has been happening since 1918. And in order to understand all of this, you have to understand that back history. And I can't go into it here because, and I know this seems like trying to get you guys to.
Yeah. No, we'll talk about it more on Nino's. We'll go there right after this, folks. We'll be at ninoscorner.tv and we're going to get into this. We're going to go full on the back channel. But, let's talk about something, first of all, that's positive that Trump is doing, which is, I think he's making progress in the mass deportations, right? I think at least that we can say for sure it's developing. He's getting hit with lawfare, right? Judges are stopping him. You got some articles on that, Alex? I mean, judges are trying to get planes to turn around and things like that. But other countries are cooperating. Like El Salvador, they're sending them right back to El Salvador. They're going into the mass, a high security prison there. So there's things happening there. And me being in El Paso, I can tell you, I can attest that there's military here at the border. The illegal immigration has slowed down to a crawl, and I think this is what's gonna wrap up a lot of who I think Trump is after, these politicians. I think this is what gets him, because he's going to say you're aiding and abetting terrorists, and this is what's going to get a lot of these politicians clickety clank and thrown in the 𝗬𝗃𝗂. If you ask me, I think this is how he's going to do it, because. And I'm telling you, they've got to be nervous. They've got to be able to hear the dog whistles. They've got to be able to see, okay, wait a second here. I've taken money from this group. I've also taken money from this group. And we know Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, they're all guilty. So I think this is what's going to get them. And maybe the reason I'm saying this is maybe Trump was playing ball with Bibi and all this, because it's going to guarantee that his political opponents go to jail. I don't know. I mean, that's where I'm going with this. You gonna pull the article, Alex?
I don't. Admittedly, I know like the surface level stuff about the border. I know that they've cracked down. I know that Holman is a lot more bullish about it. I know they released the app. I know all that kind of stuff. What I don't know is what the actual numbers are of people who are being deported. I did see that they sent back all the gang members to Venezuela or Argentina. I forget which one it was. Whichever.
Yeah, El Salvador.
El Salvador, excuse me. That's awesome, and all that stuff is great. What I don't know is the numbers, right? And again, it just goes back to like what we voted for ultimately was complete transparency, right? What we voted for was complete deportation, not like, not a portion of it. Like we want the border closed, and we want all of the people who are in this country who don't belong in this country, who are dangerous, to be gone, right? Ultimately, that's what we asked for. And I guess what it comes back to is like the JFK files, the Epstein files with the white binders, the Israel Gaza stuff. Now it just seems like there's a lot of half jobs being done, where it's like, hey, we're going to give you a little bit of hope. Here's what's going on. But like, is it the full thing? No,
it's a letdown. It's a dud.
Yeah. It's kind of like a carrot, right? Like it's just the carrot dangling in front of us. Like, hey, it's all coming. Don't worry, but give us time. And it's like, well, okay.
Hurry up and wait. And wait.
Yeah. And I have said this too, when you talk about something like, for example, the economy, I understand it takes time for the economy to bounce back, right? Like I get that that's not going to happen overnight. That's going to take a lot of time. You're basically flipping a business over. And I understand that that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. But again, going back to something like the freaking Epstein files, that doesn't take time. That's just a matter of you just release the files. You just drop them. You just go and get them and you release them.
And my view on that, they say it's a national security threat, but I think it's a bigger national security threat having us walking in the streets.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And so,
yeah. And that's, yeah. And so that's my biggest.
I mean, these are predators out there, man, like sophisticated predators with a lot of money that can do what they want. And you're just, we'll just, sorry, it's a national security threat. What's your thoughts on 𝗵𝗶𝗀? What's your thoughts on 𝗏𝗃 Patel? 𝗏𝗃 Patel had to do a direct line to the White House. He had to bypass 𝗵𝗶𝗀. What's your thoughts on that?
So the more that I meet individuals in the government, the more that I get more involved with the government and things like, because I have been like with different like the West North Carolina stuff that we did. And I've been involved with the government now. And I know some of the officials that are in the White House. And it's like, that's not me saying like, oh, I have my sources. I'm just trying to say that the more that I understand and get to know people who are actually congressmen and actually in the government and actually like in the trenches, the more I realize, guys, there's a lot of nuance to everything. And the reality is so much of what happens because our government is just garbage. Like there's no organization. It's such a complete crap show. Like it's so conflated, right? And there's very little communication and there's very little organization. And so much of what we see that we think is like this crazy conspiracy, and believe me, guys, I am literally everybody's favorite conspiracy theorist. If you follow me, you know this. But especially when I went down to North Carolina, I realized how easy it is to label just complete, like, just ineffectiveness as a conspiracy theory. And in reality, it just comes down to most of the time the government just doesn't freaking have their crap together.
You know,
and
Sean
so
Ryan,
Pam, I think that Pam fits the bill as far as the look of what the base was looking for. And I think that was a very calculated move, selecting somebody like Pam Bondi. She has the look. Do I think she's as qualified for it? I can't personally make that call, but I will tell you that the people who can make that call, who know her, people like Dan Holloway, for example, they have said like very, very outspoken that she's not qualified. Like she just doesn't have the qualification to be where she is. And she's easily pushed around. That's just what I've heard.
That's what I've heard. We must be hearing the same channel.
I don't know them, right? Same thing with Cash. The thing that the red flag that goes off with me with Cash is I listened to a lot of podcasts with Cash prior to him being selected. I listened to the Sean Ryan show. I listened to him when he was on, was it Tucker? I listened to like 3 different podcasts that he was on, and he was all gung-ho about, I'm going to release all the Epstein files. I'm going to release all JFK. I'm going to release the freaking Benghazi files. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. We're going to clean house. And then he got in and it was like, wait a second, what's all this we're hearing about you not being cooperative and the files being destroyed? And then there was the delay. And then it was, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. And then it seems like the focus is constantly on the things that aren't what you talked about when you were on these podcasts.
Right.
Do I think that he's, yeah. So
the Benghazi stuff is supposed to be coming next, isn't it?
Again, that's what he says. But I kind of feel like we're just, dude, it's crazy because the binders are a perfect example of this. It feels like we're in this weird TV show. They're like, it's almost like they're creating a TV show out of it. It's like, oh, wait for the next episode. It's next Sunday.
You're right.
Like,
yeah.
What's with the theatrics? Bread and circuses, right? Like it's literal bread and circuses. When I saw those binders, all I could think was bread and circuses. Give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt.
Or like the dangling carrot, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, Sean Ryan went to the State of the Union with Biden and he called me from there. And he's like,
oh, you know Sean? Dude, Sean, I love Sean's show.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean's my buddy. He called me from there. He goes, Dave, this is a joke. I'm like, well, what's going on? He goes, bro, they're all hugging each other, smiling. He goes, everybody who you thought was against each other is not. And he goes, the only thing they keep asking me is like, hey, can I get on your show? Can I get on your show? That's all they were asking Sean Ryan. And he said that basically they're all patting each other on the back, patting each other on the ass, hugging. And just, Pelosi's hugging, with Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's hugging. Whoever, they're all together, red and blue. It was just purple, the whole thing. And they were all together. And he said, it's a joke. And it's the same thing 𝗬𝗫 𝗵𝗀 said. 𝗬𝗫 𝗵𝗀 said, it's the WWE, man. It's the WWE. Be out in public. They're out there against each other. They're body slamming each other. It is no different. Behind closed doors, they're reading a script. They're patting each other on the ass and they're giving each other hugs. And they're planning how they're going to do this move or that move and who's going to yell uncle and whatever. And I'm still a Trump, and I want my audience to know this. I like to bring all different perspectives onto my show. I am on record saying that I'm watching this. I'm trying to watch all the moves on the chessboard. That's why I enjoy having people like you on, Ian, because I feel like you got to watch it all. Who's really controlling all of this? And for me, there's something kind of strange going on here. And I'm sorry. It's very obvious. The 2 big letdowns, the Epstein list and the JFK files. And we were promised that, and they're both big duds. And I'm guessing the Benghazi thing will be as well.
So, yeah, dude, I mean, someone actually just said, so I want to touch on this because this is actually perfect. Someone just said Julian Assange in the chat. Listen, there is a reason why Julian Assange was literally kept in a hotel for 10 plus years under complete surveillance, unable to leave. And then they buried him in a deep, dark black hole, facing potential charges of 379 years in prison until they finally convinced him to confess and pardoned him. Okay.
Right.
There's a reason why people like that went through there's a reason why Snowden is where he is. The people who have been willing to be completely transparent about everything and expose everything, just look at what has happened to them.
Yeah.
And so again, I go back to, like it might just be one big game. It might just be the fact that things are controlled. And you know what? Like, it's not hard for me to believe that a small group of evil people are pulling the strings for everything. I mean, dude,
maybe they're not so small.
No, at the end of maybe not. At the end of the day, that may be a reality. And it's like, that's the black pill that everybody wants to talk about. But look, that's the reason why I never allow myself to become a loyalist to anything. That's the reason why I support the idea of make America great again, right? And I support Trump, and I voted for him twice. And again, I still think he's the best option. I mean, we are far better off than we would have been before, right? But it's like, are we just being given the illusion of, okay, now it's you guys' turn. Now it's the right's turn and the freedom lovers' turn. And now it's 4 years of peace and prosperity and everything for you guys. But if you really look at what's happening, it's like we're doing the same thing to the left now.
Yeah.
And it basically just flopped. And it's like, we don't need that. The two-party system is the biggest issue in our country. It's the biggest divide. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to. United we stand, divided we fall. That's why that has been my message since day one when I really started getting loud. Because ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Unless we can figure out unless we can figure out how to make the good people come together, and I'm saying the good from the right, the left, straight, the Christian, the Muslim, there are people that are good in every walk of life. And then the evil is just evil. Like, that's just evil. That's not us. But for some reason, we can't figure out how to unite the good. Because we can't get over the fact that
they got blackmail on them. Everybody makes a mistake, homie. That's what happens. Yeah. I'm just saying. Everybody does something. They go to an island. I think they saw that list and they're like, oh, shit. Everybody's on here. That's what I think happened.
Did you see
everybody we know's on here?
Yes. And dude, did you see, I mean, and again, like, that was literally the most high level, well planned out, coordinated blackmail operation in the history of.
Oh, it's not just that island. It's many islands. It's many operations. Alex, you were going to say something earlier. Now I think I cut you off. I'm sorry about that.
No, but I mean, it's islands. It's the parties that these people attend all throughout the years and the decades. They got cameras in the rooms. They have photographers in the bushes that are capturing angles. And fundamentally what the American people want is full transparency and full disclosure
and full accountability.
But if one of these things, it's going to be the first domino to fall, but that it's going to lead to, it's like they can't release it because it leads to the next thing. And there's this constant, like you were saying, Ian, they're passing the hot potato around. You sort of get halfway there and then it's on to another issue. And so anyway,
I mean, look, this is where we should just kind of this is where it culminates. It's ultimately, it should be a red flag for everybody, the fact that the Epstein list hasn't been released and the fact that they've said that there's going to be things redacted because they're national security threats, because there's an obvious reason for that. What would cause a national security threat with names on a list? Oh, the people in our country who we rely on, who we look up to, and who we consider authoritative, and the people who we expect to keep us safe in the world. All of a sudden now we find out that they were freaking diddling kids on an island and doing who knows what else, right? We won't get into the satanic stuff, right? But that's going to cause it should cause every single person to question, what is the world? And it's a bombshell, dude. And we've been talking about, you and I have been talking about this since freaking 2021 when we went to the Sound of Freedom thing, right? Like, it's a reality. If this actually comes out and if it's the truth that we believe it is, and I will tell you right now that I still to this day believe that all roads lead back to that little pizza parlor and that little island.
Yep.
And if that's the reality, and if I'm right,
it comes down to the kids,
American people, and that the world in general cannot handle. It would literally collapse everything overnight. So yeah,
right, because they're going to learn that there's another currency out there called children, and it's that big, and it's the number one import and export, and the number one import country is America. And I think people are going to realize, oh man, we're in, like, who's doing this? What the hell's going on? And it's more than you know. And it's going to come down to that. That's and right. I guess we'll take it back to the back channel now, 𝗬𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏
I hope I did okay.
I mean, dude, I mean, it's probably going to have to go into some editing, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there's just no way around it. I'm not saying in here, I'm putting a disclaimer too. I'm not saying I do not, I definitely back Trump 100%. But I've always said, and I've said this on my show over and over and over again, when that pendulum swings left, it goes really far left. It's kind of like problem, reaction, solution. You know, then the pendulum's going to go really far right. And then there's people out there saying, well, the cure's got to be bigger than the disease, which I get, I understand. But there's certain things that are happening now. There's promises that are not being kept. Yep. And it's happening right now. And it's the Epstein list. It's the JFK files. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Benghazi. Why is 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 bypassing 𝗵𝗏𝗏? There's like miscommunication here. It's like I've said, if Trump gets in conventionally, which he did, it's going to be the same thing. He's going to get hit with lawfare over and over and over. And here we are again. Judges are trying to get the planes to turn around. Go ahead, Alex.
To build on what you just said. Oh, sorry, Alex.
No, go ahead, Ian.
To build on what you just said, dude, like, look, you should criticize Trump. You should look to hold Trump accountable. It doesn't. I actually think it makes you more of a supporter when you do that than when you don't. Because when you don't, it just means that you're blindly following everything he says and everything he does. That is not accountability. That's not responsibility. And that's not leadership. Leaders should be criticized. I want the people in my business and my company, if they see me do something wrong or they see me do something that's out of line with the principles and the values that we stand for, I want them to call me out on it. And I want to be able to say, you know what, you're right. I made a mistake. I want to correct it, right? When we as Americans vote for the people that we put in power, and when we go on as civilians who are holding these people accountable, we should never base that decision and that action on the person. We should base it on the values and the principles that we hold dear and that we believe those people will uphold. So every decision you make, every criticism you come up with, it should all be about, is that person holding true to the principles and the values that I hold dear as an American? And that's it. It's not a matter. Like, that's the difference between being a patriot and being a loyalist. Loyalists don't question the
being a supporter in a cult.
100%. That's 100% the right. I'm glad you said it, because I didn't want to say it, but that's the reality. Like, it's the difference between being a supporter and being in a cult. Like, you don't question the leader ever, and it's always, they know what they're doing. They know better than I do. It's all like.
And if there's any kind of mess up or he fumbles the ball, it's part of the plan. You got to trust this. You got to trust that. And then that's when, that's when I kind of step back and go, man, wait a second here. This is, do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? The Epstein files never came out. The JFK stuff, Benghazi is probably going to be a dud. What the hell's going on here?
Right.
But I'm not getting, leaving Trump's camp at all, folks. I just want to leave that disclaimer here. I am still a Trump supporter. I know Ian is as well. I know Alex is as well. Right, guy? Am I right in saying that?
I have a signed Trump hat and a signed Trump book right behind me. Like,
there you go. Right. So we're just asking
but I criticize my dad. And I love my dad, but I criticize him when he does stupid things. I criticize my family when they do. Like, dude, this idea that we can't criticize people and that if we do, we're like all of a sudden not loyal. First of all, yeah, you're right. I'm not. Second of all, what are you talking about? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, that's some red coat shit.
Yeah, bro. Like, I don't kneel for anyone. Period.
What's your
All
thoughts,
right,
Alex?
let's move on. Let's go.
Ian, where can people find you?
Yeah. So my Instagram is 𝗦𝗬𝗏. That's where most people. That's like where I'm the most active. I also have an X account, which is also 𝗦𝗬𝗏, and I'm pretty active on there as well. That's actually spelled wrong, and that might be my fault. It's 𝗦𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Okay.
And then my business is Official Patriot Gear. Patriotic apparel that stands for everything I've been talking about tonight, guys. Patriotism, not being partisan, not being exclusive, just love of country and love of people, and the reminder of the importance of it. That's what the brand stands for. It's not right. It's not left. It's not, it's just patriotism. And the Instagram for that is the Official Patriot Gear. So if you guys want to support me, you don't need to send me money or anything like that. Just buy some gear, wear it proudly, and support the people that I now employ and help us build this community and this brand.
Beautiful. And folks, go to ninoscorner.tv right now. We're going to go hit it hard over there and talk about all the things we couldn't talk about.
Let's roll, baby.
All right, Ian, let's do it right now. All right, Alex, I'll see you Friday morning. We might do a show tomorrow, maybe, right, Alex? We don't know. I told you I wanted to hit it pretty hard this month. Yeah. I had to take some time off, but let's try to get it. Let's try to really get busy, man, because I need to get on the horse again. All right, Ian, I'll see you. I'll send you a link right now. All right, Alex.
All right. See you guys.